Hey everyone, it's the one James, and I'm here to tell you the top cards in the top 8 of Pro Tour Outlaws of Thunder Junction. The format is standard, and surprisingly enough, all top 8 deck lists had something from the brand new set. As always, if you see a deck or cards that you like, you can get all of your products for 7% off at ProdigyGames.com by using code JAME7 at checkout. That's J-A-M-E 7 at checkout. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. In first place, we have Domain Ramp by Yoshihiko Ikawa, winning the whole thing, and the only new card in the Domain Ramp deck was Rest in Peace. And that's at 2 copies in the sideboard. It was such a pleasure to watch Yoshihiko Ikawa win the entire Pro Tour, especially against one of his teammates and friends. That leads me to the second place deck and Azorius Control, and that is by Yuta Takahashi, the current world champion. And he was playing Azorius Control. And the new cards they were playing in this deck is 3 Steps Ahead and Phantom Interference. 3 Steps Ahead is the modal counterspell that lets you counter a spell, make a token that's a copy of a creature you control, or draw 2 cards, discard a card, so you can basically kick this for any of the modes. And Phantom Interference is also a spree card that you can counter a spell unless its controller pays 2, so it is like a make disappear, but you can also for 3 extra mana make a 2/2 white spirit creature token with flying. Azorius Control and Yuta Takahashi mowed through the entire top 8, ended up losing in the finals to his friend, but these 2 cards made it into the Azorius Control deck. The interesting thing about these cards as well and decks is that this is a 3-year standard format, so it's going to be kind of hard for new cards and new sets to break into the standard meta, so it's very surprising that every single one of these top 8 decks has a new card in it. In third place, we have Boros Convoke by Takumi Matsuura. And this one is interesting because the only card in the new set that has in it is a land. It's Inspiring Vantage, which is a reprint, and that card makes this deck so much better because a lot of the lands that this deck used to play are really, really bad, like Thran Portal. Nobody wants to play Thran Portal. Inspiring Vantage, huge upgrade for this deck, and it ended up getting 3rd place. In 4th place, we have Esper Midrange by one of my friends, Arne Hushenbeth. Arne Hushenbeth is a Twitch streamer and YouTuber, and he ended up making 4th place in the Pro Tour, which is super awesome. His first ever top 8, which I was super happy for him. His only card in the new set in his Esper Midrange deck is 3 copies of Pest Control in the sideboard. And if you haven't seen this card before, it's a white and a black for a sorcery. Destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less, and it has cycling for 2 generic mana to discard it and draw a card, which is really good if you don't end up needing it. But also, I believe it's a card that he was choosing to play against the Boros Convoke deck because that's going to kill almost all of their cards in play, outside of a Resolute Reinforcements or Irmidane's Recruiter or something like that. But it is 2 mana, and that's really, really powerful, especially when a deck is going wide like Boros Convoke. Next up, in 5th place, we have 4-Color Legends by Ray Zhang, and that has 2 different new cards in it. That is File Smasher, Gleeful Grenadier. It's a 2-mana 3/2 Goblin Mercenary for Rakdos colors. Whenever another outlaw enters battlefield under control, File Smasher Gleeful Grenadier deals 1 damage to target opponent. So this is part of a combo finish with another card in the new set, Honest Rutstein. This is a card, it's a 3-mana 3/2 Golgari Human Warlock. When it ETBs, return a creature from your graveyard to your hand, and it says creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So the combo is that you have Vile Smasher Gleeful Grenadier in play, and then you cast Honest Rutstein, making your creatures cost 1 less, and then you cast, and then that will deal damage to your opponent. And then you cast another copy of Honest Rutstein, and then that legend rules to Honest Rutstein, dealing a damage to your opponent with Vile Smasher, and then that adds Honest Rutstein back to your hand. So that is a combo where you can keep returning Honest Rutstein back to your hand with another copy of Honest Rutstein. How many times can I say that in the same sentence? And burning your opponent out with Vile Smasher. The way that you can get the 2 extra mana to do this combo all in the same turn is if you have Relic of Legends, which can tap your legendary creatures to gain a mana, and then you can have a Rona in play as well. Number one, you can have a whole bunch of wide creatures, of course, to just keep tapping them for mana from Relic of Legends, or you can have Rona, which every time you cast a legendary spell, it untaps itself, and then you can tap it for mana with Relic of Legends. So, and then you get to tap the Honest Rutstein that you just cast for mana as well to cast your Honest Rutstein. So you can see how that can get out of hand and how that can be infinite mana. Tap, cast it, untap, grab it back to your hand, tap both for 2 mana, cast 2 mana again. So that is infinite mana, infinitely burn your opponent out. And it can also win the game without doing that, but those 2 cards being in the new set allows for an infinite combo, which is super cool. It was also a super convoluted way of explaining that, but I think you get it. Next up, in 6th place, we have Esper Midrange by Lucas Duchow. This has 3 cards from the new set. This is Duelist of the Mind, which is a 1 and a blue for a star 3 human advisor with flying and vigilance. Its power is equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. And then whenever you commit a crime, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card, and it triggers only once. So really powerful, good threat in this deck. And then the 2 other cards are in the sideboard in Pest Control and Rest in Peace. I've already went over those 2 cards, but those 2 cards did make it into the sideboard of this Esper Midrange deck. Next up in 7th place, we have 4 Color Legends, again by Jason Yee, and this has 3 cards instead of 2. Yes, it has a combo in it, but it also played 1 copy of Tiny Bones to Pickpocket. It's a 1 black for a 1/1 Death Touch. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. So it's just another legend that you can get on turn 1 that can get incremental value throughout the game. So a little bit of a different list, playing the Tiny Bones Pickpocket than the one that got 5th place, but this one also got 7th place. Moving on to the last deck, Teamer Analyst by Sean Goddard. This deck had 1 new card in it, and it is in the sideboard, Bonnie Paul Clearcutter. This card is a 6 mana, 6/5, 3 green and double blue giant scout with reach. When Bonnie Paul Clearcutter enters the battlefield, create Bow, a legendary blue Ox creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And then whenever you attack, you draw a card, then you can put a land card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. So this is a way to create card advantage in the mirror, and also a way to dodge graveyard hate in the mirror, because everyone's bringing in Rest in Peace against this deck. So this card is a good transformative sideboard plan to win the game after you get Rest in Peace. And it's just a generally really good card as well. Also has reach, so good against cards like Rafine Scheming Seer out of the Esper midrange decks. So that is 100% of the brand new cards that all made it into the top 8 of Pro Tour Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Once again, you can use code JAMES7 at checkout to save 7% off of literally anything in the store at prodigygames.com. Go ahead and check out the link down in the description below. I'll see you in the next one, and as always, peace.